What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Rocket Vlogs, and welcome to the episode where I had mic issues, so there's no audio even though you're looking at me talking directly to the camera. So basically what I'm saying here in this intro is LDRS is coming up and it's going to be a very expensive trip, so if you guys would like to help me out, you can check out rocketvlogs.com for the I Literally Burn Money t-shirts, and LDRS 22 discount code is going to give you a special discount. Then what I'm going to go on to tell you is that I received this rocket for free last year when I was in Lucerne, California for Rockstock. My friend Carson sent me a video from 2005, I believe, of this thing flying in 2005. Ultimately, I have too many big rockets, I can't really afford to fly them all, but I am going to fly this at LDRS. Right now, my plan is to fly it on a J800 with two G80s and air start two different 29mm motors that I haven't yet decided on because it's got an electronics hatch in the side of the fin can, and I just got a MissileWorks Pet 2 Plus timer. Here's the thing though. Like I said, too many big rockets and I can't afford to fly them all, so I'm going to give this rocket away to someone. Here's a couple stipulations, unfortunately, in this case. For one, I'm going to sign it, and I want the next owner to sign it as well. The next owner needs to be level 2 certified or higher. The thing is just too heavy to fly on an I motor, and as you know, you can't do a cert with a pre-built rocket, so that rules out anyone using it for their level 2 certification. But I want to give this to someone who's level 2 certified or higher and will fly it and then pass it on to another person. They used to do this with Fliskid's Deuces Wilds, and it was called the Tour de Deuce, I believe. I just want to, pass this thing around and get as many flights in it as possible. It's really cool that it's survived since 2005, but I don't think it's flown since then. I don't think the person who built it flies rockets anymore. So it would be super cool to watch it travel around the country, or perhaps the entire world, and get a chance to fly on anything. It'll fit a 2800 case or a CTI 6XL, so it'll fly on anything from a J to a L, and it has four 29mm outboard mounts, so you can get pretty crazy with it. So, anyway, what we're going to do here today is tear this thing apart and take a look at it and figure out what we're going to need to do to make it fly at LDRS. And about halfway through the video, the mic starts working, but it was only recording on the right channel. So again, sorry for all the weird audio issues with this thing. I hadn't had any problems with this mic until now. So initially, because this thing is phenolic, I thought it was a PML Ultimate Endeavor, which is the 6-inch dual deploy Endeavor from Public Missiles. However, when I noticed it had a plastic nose cone, I started thinking about the fact that I'm pretty sure PML 6-inch nose cones are fiberglass. So I got out a tape measure and discovered that this is 5.5-inch, not 6-inch. While it has PML phenolic for motor tubes, I believe this is flexible phenolic, which is available from Red Arrow Hobbies and potentially Giant Leap. It was a phenolic tube that was available, probably a decade or more ago, that was a little bit less flimsy, and I guess not flimsy. It was a little bit less brittle than standard phenolic. You can knock it over and it won't crack a big piece off. The whole thing actually is fiberglass, and the fins appear to have tip-to-tip fiberglass as well, and I believe them to be 3/8-inch plywood. So this thing could really take some abuse. See, this is where things started getting a little bit hairy, because the electronics bay design is not bad in the first place, but it certainly hasn't aged well. For one, that bulk plate that I'm working on taking the hardware out of is a moot point, because I discovered that bulk plate is glued in, which wouldn't be so much of a problem if there wasn't another bulk plate in the middle of it also glued in. So the wiring to those terminal blocks are running through that middle bulk plate, and it is absolutely covered in epoxy. So I don't usually run terminal blocks. I usually run wires straight through the altimeters, and I don't use ejection caps either. So this isn't how I would have set things up, but this is kind of the beautiful part about rocketry, is that there's a million different ways to do things, and they'll work functionally and fine. It's just that you run into a lot of people who believe that their way is the only correct way, and they're not afraid to tell you that. While entertaining the idea of running the terminal blocks, I discovered that the multimeter at my parents' house wasn't working, so we decided to use a makeshift little test light in the form of an Estes launch controller. All I did was take the little alligator clips, and you can see when you put them together it confirms continuity with the light turning on. So what I did was stick one into each end of the terminal block, and then I twisted the wires together at the other end that would go into the altimeter just to close the circuit, and once we had that, we would know for sure if the continuity was good, so long as the alligator clips weren't touching each other. And It's fine. Unfortunately, the other terminal block is melted and the wires are cut, and I can't dig the wires back out of the giant glob of epoxy that's holding this thing together, so I decided to go to the store and buy a giant drill bit so I could run it through both of those bulk plates. I'm going to put a piece of brass tubing in there so I don't have to fish wires through there every single time, but Hobby Lobby was closed and Home Depot didn't have anything small enough. And I think right about now you should be hearing from me in real time. Alright, just because I know some of you cynical people will really enjoy seeing me struggle with this, I feel like I can do this. I just got a stick through it a second ago. It wasn't long enough that I could... I'm wondering if, since I augered it out a little bit, if the drill bit would be usable. Alright, we have successfully turned the electronics bay into a shish kebab. Just tape this E-match lead to this stick. Hopefully we can get it small enough to go through the hole happily and stay with the stick. That's all you have to do every flight. Simple, right? 1.5 gram just to test it. I'm gonna put this together real quick and try and beat the sun going down. Try and get a test in real fast. Alright, I know the lighting is terrible. I don't have time to be concerned about that right now because we're running out of big lighting. It's actually got 256 shear pin holes, which is pretty cool. So this should be pretty straightforward. Ooh, I'm putting it on the ground. Calculator said 1.83 grams, rounded it up to 2. You know, this doesn't go together nearly as poorly as I remember it when I first got it. I can't start liking it now. I already said I was giving it away. I'm gonna put some shock cord in it, and that can go with whoever wins. But obviously I'm taking my altimeters out. You see, I keep putting them in the ground, so I'm gonna need to hold on to as many as I can. Probably pull out the electronics from my Mad Dog. I'll be flying an RRC3 Extreme and an RRC2 Plus. Or I could put the RRC that I just got with the, it'd be really appropriate for this era, or the G-Wiz 800 LCD that I just got. I'm excited to show you guys that rocket, but you gotta bear with me here. You're proving that you can pressurize more volume when you don't have recovery gear in there. I understand the concept is that you want to see if your recovery gear will get sufficiently kicked out, but I don't have any shock cord for this at the moment, at least none here. So, and I don't know what parachute I'm gonna put in it yet because I don't really know how much it weighs. So, we're just gonna make sure this is gonna give a good kick to the nose cone, which it should be plenty substantial, especially because it's a light low plastic nose cone. I just wanna make sure everything separates okay. If these ground tests go fine, then that's where I'm sticking with. This rocket's already flown. I don't know what size charges you use, but I used to not do ground tests almost ever. You just do your math properly and typically it works out pretty good. In fact, I've never had electronics failure, as far as I know. I guess the ballistic M, there's a good chance that was an electronics failure. My theory is that it was going so fast horizontally that it couldn't kick the nose off. But at any rate, I have a 99.9% dual deploy electronics setup. I've never had a charge not fire, and when I've had charge fire, I've never had it not separate the rocket, except for one time possibly. All right, I don't have to explain myself to you. We're gonna ground test this thing. All right, let's get this bad boy on there. For those wondering how I do ground tests, I literally just run the E-matches out the side and then use SD's launch controller. Thankfully, the guy who built this was smart and made one of the shear pin holes higher, so it's easy to tell where they line up. Oh cool, the battery's almost dead. Drogue separation point first, since that one was a nightmare to get the E-match into. 1.5 grams in the drogue section. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright. That seems like more than enough. That was just pressing the continuity test light, by the way. With E-matches, I've done that with a bunch and I haven't fired, so that's why I always count it down, just in case. Gonna give it the courtesy count again, just in case. 2 grams in the nose section. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That should do it.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna have to save showing this rocket to you guys for another day, but it's a 5-inch all fiberglass Dynacom Anaconda from 2002. A guy used it for his level 3 in 2002. His name's Mike. I just picked it up from him around the LA area. But yeah, super cool. Camera battery's about to buy. It's about to buy. It's about to die. Go rocketvlogs.com. Check out the I Literally Burn Money shirts. You're also available on Amazon. All the links are in the description. And yeah, hit the subscribe and like button. I'll see you guys next time, which might not be for a while because I got a lot prepped to do before LDRS.